Welcome back to the Battlefield, the podcast where the truth is the only currency and the stories are retold without filters. Today we are going deep into the boardrooms, break rooms, burnout zones of the corporate world. My guest, Samantha Jabich, an executive coach, a mother, a woman over 50, and face voice challenging the toxic system that reward overwork and punish authenticity. She's been inside the machine. She's seen how it chews people, spits them out, and dares to call success. We are going to talk about all: burnout, motherhood, ageism, corporate cruelty, and what real leadership should look like. This isn't just an interview. It's a wake-up call. If you are ever felt invisible, exhausted, or you're told that you are too old to matter, this episode is for you. This is Life, the Battlefield. Let's go dive in. Samantha, welcome to the podcast Life, the Battlefield. Thank you for coming today. It's a true pleasure to see you. So tell me, I make an introduction of our episode today.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ask better person to talk about burning topics, and that's corporate burnout and culture. But before we dig deep into this, who is Samantha?
I'm just a human being, really.
How modest you are.
That's who I am. I'm a woman who has had a very interesting life. I was born in Bosnia, in a very small town, to a Bosnian father and a mother who is a mix of Croatian and Serbian. So, and then I grew up all over the world because the nature of my father's job took us all over the world. Most of my life I lived either in the USA or in UK or in the Netherlands. Yeah, Netherlands probably the longest. Actually, Australia is the longest. But the work that I've done, I had a very difficult childhood, so I always try to understand how does the human mind works and why do we do things that we do as human beings. And I don't know if you're into numerology, Mario, but my life path number is 9, and in tarot cards, 9 is a hermit. And a hermit just wants to learn, and I just learn.
I know that life. When we spoke, when we had a coffee recently, I said number 5, and you said, in number 5 represent this and this. I was like, I just say number 5, but it's a good to know numerology.
Well, number 5 is a number of change. Yeah. So back to who I am. Psychologist, mother, avid reader, lover of life, and continuously studying people.
What's so interesting about studying the people? Let me start this one. There's a plenty of podcasts there. There's a lot of, I'll come to this later, coaches and gurus who understand the people and their behavior, their profile, everything else. But you are highly accredited, educated. You don't hide that your upbringing was difficult.
Yeah.
Now, what is necessary for us to understand when we're studying people? What we need to acquire, what knowledge, experience to have the proper understanding how to profile somebody?
Profiling is a very different thing, and it's highly unvalidated. But neuroscience has gone in leaps and bounds. So we now, brain is the only organ that you can't actually study live, because you would have to open somebody's skull and do all of that, and you cannot do that. So what we can do is we can observe behavior, and we can learn from the hours and hours of therapy and things about human behavior and what drives things. But we still don't understand exactly why people do the things that they do. There are so many variables. You can generalize, and like, for example, psychopathy. There is a psychopathic scale, and then you score these people on psychopathic scale. However, sometimes you just cannot actually determine that. It's art and science combined on how to do, and that's why it interests me, because it's so unexplored still. Like from Freud to today, You have Jordan Peterson, who is also a psychologist.
What do you think about him? I'm very curious about him. Tell me. I want to know everything before he started crying me. Oh, I was alcoholic. My mom didn't love me. I found the Bible. I try to understand those people who goes to that emotion.
Yeah.
I was a bad person, but now I'm a good person and all these things. But what is your take on Jordan Peterson?
Jordan, to me, is very much someone who hides himself behind semantics. He's very eloquent. Yeah, he's educated. He's very eloquent. Yeah. So he will use language to kind of confuse you, and because he's almost like Donald Trump. Jordan Peterson and Donald Trump do the weave, and then you think, oh my God, this man is so smart, and he doesn't impress me. Neither does Dr. Mate either.
Ah, okay. Can I ask you a question as a woman?
Sure.
Not as a corporate person, somebody who understands people.
Yeah.
Does a suit makes the man?
Yes and no.
Can you just...
Depends on the man.
Let's go take me, for example, because I'm the good, handsome, good-looking, sexy man.
Yes, you are. Very handsome, very sexy, very good-looking. Yeah.
So let's go jump straight away on that question I want to ask you. There's a change in environment. The man doesn't dress anymore as used to be.
It's terrible.
It's
terrible.
I try to understand.
It's terrible.
You, as someone who's working in recruitment as well, you're advising the large organization recruitment. Why is important that person who comes for interview is addressed to impress?
Well, if a person does not take care of their appearance, that means they don't take care of themselves, basically, because your clothing is an extension of your personality. Yeah, your clothing is an extension of what you believe in, what you stand for, what your values are. If you're coming to an interview in open-toe shoes with dirty nails and your clothes are not ironed, well, why would I think you would care about the quality of your work if you don't care about how you actually look and how you present yourself to the world? You have to show up in the world in a certain way. Yeah. And if you're showing up as a slob, then what does that say about your approach to life? Yeah, you don't love yourself, you don't love life, and if you do that, if you cannot love yourself enough to show up in the world clean and well put together, and smelling nice and being kind, and clothing is extension of personality.
That's very interesting what you say there.
In my view, so don't come for me, people.
Don't come for me. That's okay. Look, today's interview it's about very burning topic, which is. I don't see many podcasts talk about this one. Everybody try to find some type of exclusivity, some type of sensationalism. I want to talk about burnout. So you witnessed at first hand how corporations chew through talent. Yeah. Now, what's the emotional toll on the human behind the title?
Well, there was research done. I think it was either Harvard or Stanford. Don't cite me on that. But there was research done about the aftermath of surviving a toxic boss. Because we don't work for companies. We work for people. Yeah. So you don't leave the company. You leave your manager. And surviving a toxic boss, if you were bullied or in whatever way victimized at work, or you were forced to work long hours and it was like expectation, it takes you about 3 to 5 years to get over something like that, to go back to the state where you can not have flashbacks. It's almost like having a PTSD, the post-traumatic stress syndrome. But so that was a piece of research done. I have personally seen people reduced to shells of themselves after being through a really toxic environment.
Yes.
And this mostly actually happens at the C-suite level. C-suite has the largest number of psychopaths in the world.
Like in the movies, but it is actually.
But that's because they have high tolerance for risk, and they don't have fear, and they don't have remorse. Yeah, and they're not playing. They're doing what they love doing, which is using other people to reach satisfaction of some sort. Yeah, so, the big Enron, for example, the big company that had the most beautiful values in the world on their walls and stuff, and then collapsed to a heap. Or I don't know what other organization I would say, things just go bad because you're having people who have no empathy, there is no compassion, there is no, and one of your questions was really interesting to me. You said, if you put a CEO for a month in their lowest paid employee, what would happen? Well, it depends on the CEO. If he's scoring high on psychopathic level, nothing would happen. He would find joy in that and saying, well, look, Donald Trump, look at me. I'm living in a golden tower, and look at you because you must be a loser. You're not smart enough to do that.
That behavior, it's
so it depends on the CEO. So and again, the burnout that you see is the expectation that's put on people that are working in this organization to work long hours to prove loyalty to the organization, Google or Apple or all of these. It's almost a cult.
I never work in corporate environment till maybe I'll line up. I think 2007 was the first time when I got a corporate job, and it didn't last long. 2009 with GFC.
I don't see you as a corporate person.
Yeah, I wanted. I was really happy. To work, and I was a national loss prevention manager, and I was thinking I was just doing great, and then GFC comes, and of course there's the envelope and goodbye, and I'm like, but one thing I noticed that people are actually have them to try to put the medals on them. The job says it's 9 to 5. My CEO will come, says to me, Mario, you come 8:30 in the morning. I said, okay, what's wrong? He said, but you're leaving on dot on 5 o'clock. I said, what's wrong with that one? It was sort of required, and I was being seen as a under-delivering.
Not a team player and under-delivering because you're not working long hours.
You're like, excuse me, I have the wife and a little kid, that's a one thing, but why will I stay till 8 o'clock? And people will stay 8 o'clock. I say, you guys must be crazy. So we rewarding
bad behavior.
Yes, overworking. So what's happened when you try to set up the boundaries on this?
When you try to set up the boundaries, exactly what you say, you will be, even today, when people are talking about work-life balance a lot. There's a lot of talk about, let's have the work-life balance and stuff. And even today, people will be judged on leaving early or, not towing the corporate line, the corporate culture. And that is all set from the CEO. And CEO doesn't care, right? But so they will see the CEO who is constantly on plane, and the CEO will say in interviews, I'm working 24/7, I'm on all the time. So that's rewarded. Now, what's interesting with that from the psychology side of thing is there is constant stress. You are constantly under stress to perform, to deliver, to perform, to deliver, to perform, to deliver, no matter what level you are. Yeah. What that does to your brain is actually shutting down your prefrontal cortex, which is your executive function, your decision-making and stuff, right? It kills your neural pathways, basically. And it's your cognitive ability is diminished, and you have no agency of yourself anymore because you're just like a rat in the, condition to go and do that. But what you're doing to yourself is you can't see it. And you can't understand it. So you just go on and on and on until something happens and you have a burnout, you get a heart attack, or, you have a mental breakdown and stuff like that. And how much is mental illness on the agenda these days? It's because we've created workspaces and workplaces where we churn through people, we eat through them with the expectation of thou shalt deliver this. Yeah, it's almost like the 11th commandment. Thou shalt work until you drop dead. So, yeah.
I know that there's and I was one of the suckers into this. You need to find the what's it calling? The CEO who's going to teach you some moves and everything else. Please correct me, but I disagree entirely because CEO is a decision maker, big decisions, right? And I remember when I started my career in the military, my commanding officer of the company, he knew it exactly what was expected from the lowest ranked soldier. General, he couldn't care less. because it's their political decision making, whatever
That's
it is, right? But sort of they knew it. When you work in corporation, I didn't even saw one CEO. I never have experienced the CEO will walk around the building and greet guy on the doors. I'm the CEO. I know how it is. And I myself...
Well, not really.
Then you throw me all this corporate culture, rules and everything else. We come to this a little bit later. But now I want to hit a nail
On the
on the
head.
head. Burnout. So...
Yeah.
How the burnout manifests in workplace? You must saw people come to you. I want your
they
raw,
do.
unfiltered opinion, professional, of course.
So the worst case is when the company is doing badly financially, and then because your headcount, your salaries are the biggest expense on your balance sheet, that's the biggest expense that you have. And then what people will do, what the CEO will say, or the HR person like me will come and say, okay, well, maybe we should look at the headcount to cut the headcount. What happens then? You call consultants in like PricewaterhouseCoopers or KPMG or Ernst & Young. They come in, you pay them $500,000 to look at your headcount, and then they say, okay, you need to cut 20% of your people. So then you cut the people. But the people who leave, first of all, they have survivor's guilt because they survived and their friends have been gone. Secondly, they are given more work for the same amount of pay and still expected to deliver at the same pace, at the same level. Okay, that's where the burnout happens. Because people are, like what I told you, they get into that lesser cognitive state. So they have loyalty to the company and they think, okay, and I need my job. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to feed my children. Yeah, I need to pay my bills. So I will do whatever it takes and I will stay here. And that's when burnout happens. So you have the stress of more work that you got because of the head count. You got additional stress from trying to provide for your family, for yourself, and do whatever you need to do to survive. Yeah. And then you have the third thing, which is, I have this loyalty to this company, and and your CEO comes in and buys you pizza for a team pizza day, or we're gonna have a wellness seminar, and we're gonna call Sam to talk to us about stress and things, because that's what we do. But we won't give you more money, and we won't give you flexibility, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
That's the burnout. We created a system that is so against everything that psychology has taught us that we need to do to be healthy human beings. We are creating generations and generations. And then get this, the stress that your mother and father have when you're little, your children take that stress on, and they see that and they replicate that because they think that's the only way. So what you're doing is you're creating generational stress and generational burnout.
I like what you say, because, as I say, I don't have that experience. I have only one corporate experience. And somehow I was being forced, literally, to take a step and start my business. That's a totally different cup of tea.
That's another stress as well, though.
It is, but, from
but
this point
you feel you have more control.
That is correct. Even it was difficult, and, it was challenging, even today, I would say, like, CEO comes to work, not come to work, sick, holiday, he gets his package.
Yeah.
It's always negotiate this golden parachute, everything else. Yeah. When the ship sinks, most of CEOs disappear somewhere. Huh? That's the reason why I love talking to you, because most of us don't understand what we can expect when we start working in corporation. So my question is, and again I say, every CEO talks about leadership. I'm like, come on, seriously, man.
Mario, leadership is a billions and billions dollar industry. Training leaders,
That's
and
a delulu.
That's right.
That's a
and
delulu.
we still don't have good leaders. You look at the world, who is the world run by, and you tell me that that's the example of leadership. I say not, sir.
I always was being told, even I was in military, we never have the books about leadership.
No.
It's you doing, your studies, your subjects, anything else. There is accountability, responsibility. Yeah. And I do remember we got a small red books before the combat, where we need to calculate the ratio of the loss, dead, wounded, missing, and everything else. And if that 8% was above 8%, you are straight away considered incompetent officer. If it's below, that means that you're coward.
Right.
So there was nobody has a mercy on this moment. They see like before the combat, they say like I was always around the 10. I said, but depend on the actions. So I was going between the dangerous waters. But my friends, my colleagues, the leaders, they're going by 2%, 3%. They have a casualty almost 40%, which is death sentence for officer, you know what I mean? But we, as you say, we have a leadership courses. Mm-hmm. It's a 59,000 books. I Googled it today. I asked Dr.
Oh, there
Google.
you go. Yeah, there you go.
59,000 books about leadership. I'm like, come on, who are you going to listen? So I want to listen to you because it's like you're educated, you're so... Yeah. So do you believe that modern corporate leadership or CEOs are the part of the problem or solution?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're still growing the same type of CEOs. We still, and actually we're going... Yeah,
I like how you say like,
we're going backwards because, people like to conform. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you look at the leadership in the country, the leadership in big companies, that's your conform bias. That is your standard to which you conform. Yeah. So in America, unfortunately, Donald Trump is a standard that when people will conform. And some people love Donald Trump, and to me he's very amusing, and psychologically very interesting. But that's the standard to which people will aspire.
Yes.
Yeah. In companies, it's the same thing. But if you go to business schools and you look at what they teach them, it's still that the bottom line, the performance, the bottom line, the performance. Very rarely empathy is taught, very rarely compassion, very rarely understanding, very rarely psychology of organization.
Yes.
Because there is a field of study called organizational behavior. So how do we behave in organizations, how to do that. So there is enough for people to do that, but it's not important because money drives behavior. And social standard drives behavior, if you know what I mean. So say, for example, I'll give you, by the way, millennials are fabulous. I love their attitude because they don't want to get up until 10 o'clock in the morning. And they have, I love millennials. You make me laugh now, I love them. I absolutely adore these kids because they are disruptors and they are shaking up this whole construct that we made in the world of work, right? But I'll give you an example of how this drives behavior. So 50 years ago, you would not be caught dead having a sex tape with someone.
Correct.
Right? Today, it's the norm. If you don't have one, you're not going to be famous. Kim Kardashian, yes? The hookup culture that we have, where it is normal to just have casual hookups all the time. They call it the body count. Yeah? So, and I look at that and I sort of look back at myself when I was young. And I'm thinking, I think my father would have buried me 6 feet under.
Same with me, yeah. Same with me.
So it's how the norms are changing, and that's, whoever has the most money will give you that norm. Because what you're looking at is, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to have airplanes, I want to have private jets, I want to have Bentleys. Yeah. And the only thing that you can do as somebody who doesn't have money is, well, I will have the lifestyle. I will hook up and I will have a sex tape and I will dress like, what. And so it's the same in corporations. So whoever is the CEO, whoever is, you look at how they live, what they do, and then you try to replicate that at the lowest level, which is, I will work long hours and then maybe I will be a CEO one day. And I will toe the company line and I will say this and I will say that. So people are very opportunistic because it's a survival mechanism for us.
Or if you go on LinkedIn, there's more CEOs than the employees. But
100%.
I want to reflect something what you said right now about millennials.
Oh, God, I love that.
Yeah, because truth it is that today it's sort of norm, as you say, having the sex tape out.
Oh, yeah.
why our parents? I'm proud that, my dad was a typical communist worker, factory, home factory, that was for him, you know what I mean?
Mine was opportunistic communist.
Oh, okay. So that's a good one. Especially.
No, I'm serious. He was communist until he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Because the regime changed, and then he could be himself. A
Oh
pure
my
capitalist.
God! No,
Yeah?
mine was hardcore. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Believing in communism, and he was. But my dad chose to be the coward. So when the war started in Yugoslavia, he left me, and I said to myself, "Dude, where this alpha male is gone now? That killer, you know what I mean?"
Don't use alpha male. Alpha is not good.
No, I know, but that's like that. That's
no,
how
but alpha is the lowest level. People say I'm an alpha male. I'm like, no. In coding, alpha is the lowest, the most horrible programming.
So why are they using then? Like what?
Because somebody once studied wolves and said there is an alpha wolf because that was the leader of the pack.
Well, the leader of the pack never goes up front, and wolves are very protective, so they go at the back. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And the front goes the most vulnerable.
Senior one,
yeah, that's correct. So again, whoever invented this should be. But it's a lot of this. How to say. Categories being drawn last couple of years, and as like when I was growing up into young office and everything else, morals must be the highest. If something was being done outside the work, it will affect the work. It will affect your promotions and everything else. And today, when did that change?
Well, it changed with
when did we accept that it's normal to have the porn tapes and work and workplace?
It's the internet of course. There was the MySpace, if you remember. Then there was the Facebook, and then and then people found out that they can manipulate the image that they want to project. So, the Kardashians, they made it cool to be promiscuous, to be Up until Kim Kardashian, I always thought you don't want to have a big backside. You want to be if somebody told you have a fat ass, then you would go, oh my God, I got to go on a diet, right? And all of a sudden that changed. Yeah, but that changed because now it's people go to Brazil to have Brazilian bum lift to kind of have.
So true.
So that's what I'm saying. So with the social media, it absolutely helped create everything that. The trends. TikTok nowadays, things keep trending. It's like crazy. It goes like wildfire. It dies very soon as well, but it goes like wildfire. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. Like what Americans are trying to do is go back to the 50s, obviously, with the control of women's bodies.
They can't. They can't.
They can try, but I don't think that will ever happen because the social media is too powerful. Too powerful to allow anything. It might, but I believe that this new generation, and not even the millennials, these Gen Zs and Gen Zeros and stuff, I have a 23-year-old son, and his work ethic is completely different to mine.
I agree with you, because even I said, even this morning I went in the gym with my son, and let's talk about bums. You're absolutely right. Those who can't afford to go in Brazil to have the bum lifting. When I walk in the gym now, I'm surprised the weight the women using for their gluteus maximus, aka ass. Yeah. For those who don't know, for their thighs. So I think myself, why you need to increase the size and the volume of your bottom?
The pressure on them, Mario. The pressure on them to look a certain way.
But that doesn't look appealing whatsoever.
Not to you and not to me.
Yeah, okay. No,
but the new generation, it does, because all they see is, I need to have plastic surgery. Because Kylie Jenner, one of the Kardashians, she looks completely different to what she looked like when she was 15 years old. And somebody on social media put in, you're not beautiful, you're ugly, but you're rich, because you just do the plastic surgery and you reinvent yourself. There is a freedom in that as well, because you can, if you can afford it, you can become something else. Yeah, it's
something else.
For me, it's a mutilation. It's a self-mutilation, and people get addicted to surgery, unfortunately, and they get addicted to Ozempic, or, again, social media wants you to be look a certain way. And then young, impressionable people.
Can I ask you
Sure.
free question?
Yeah.
When we see the social media, so
Yeah.
let's go back a little bit on that leadership
Yeah,
role
sure.
before I move to another one topic with you. There's so many influences there, not just the fitness, health gurus,
Leadership gurus as well.
leadership gurus, everything else. One thing I know, and I take this very close to my heart because my son is 22 years old,
Yeah.
and he says to me, Dad, your generation is different than mine. I say, I have his if it's like, I always say, like, that's okay, Matteo, I understand, we can't all be perfect. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, but the thing it is, when he goes on the internet, he search for things and, you know, what he's watching, I can't understand. But I try to
Embrace it.
embrace that culture. And I said to him, please explain to me, what these people tell you what to do something, do they say I'm accountable, responsible? For example, let's go talk about these business coaches, life coaches,
Yeah.
and I prepared this big question for you.
I know, that's good.
You know, but that's like, you know, I don't need to read. But in Australia, for example, to be security guard, you need a certificate to become security guard.
Yeah.
To serve the alcohol, you need to have an RSA.
Yeah.
But please indulge me. Now, my curiosity.
Yeah.
How is possible that people on the internet, LinkedIn, they claim they're hypnotherapists, business coaches, life coaches, gurus, Jay Shetty, BS, you know what I mean, all these things, right? But nobody asked them for their qualifications, accreditation. So with you say straight away, I'm the, you know, that psychology, this is my career. Okay, so lady, she's going to university, woman is going to university to acquire her accreditations. I'm very curious. Who are those influencers? And are they responsible, accountable for what they do? Please.
But they are not, because again, the system allows them to be. You can say whatever you like. You can put out on internet whatever you like. You can put out on social media, I am Jesus Christ come back from the dead. And you will have, I guarantee you will have an audience. I guarantee you this. There will be people who will say, yes, you are, right? So do you need a qualification these days? Not necessarily. You need charisma. You need force of conviction. You are seeing it a lot with these spiritual gurus.
Yeah.
Jay Shetty. Yeah. What was the other one? Robin Sharma. Yeah. So I met him, and what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You read Bhagavad Gita, you read Upanishads, you read a few books from Carl Gustav Jung or Freud.
No, Jay Shetty, but correct you. Jay Shetty admitted last year that every single quote he posted on his profile, he's stealing from somebody else. It's over there.
And there you go.
And I'm like...
And so you know, but because people are become not deep, people are not deep anymore. People are superficial because you're getting information in 3 minutes on TikTok and these bites.
Yeah.
People don't read. People don't research. People, you know, that's going to become extinct, especially with the AI coming into it.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to think anymore. You just kind of type in, tell me what it is, and just shove it there. But so
sort of laugh, but
yeah,
true.
but social media has done us a huge disservice where we allow charlatans to tell us how to live, to tell us what to do, to tell us how to be. Yeah? And that's because we are all hungry as human beings for some meaning in our lives, some purpose in our lives, because it can't just be I'm going to work and pay bills and then I'm going to die. Right? So there is intrinsic need in our souls. Our souls want something to know that we mean something in an infinite universe where we are tiny little specks of dust on a tiny little rock in 3 trillion galaxies turning around. You are seeking meaning. You are seeking meaning. And you open yourself up, and then you get some person who is feeding off your weakness, who is feeding off your need, who is feeding off your emotional vulnerability. and you fall for it. Jim Jones, who killed people. What was that other one? The girl who said she had cancer, Belle, whatever her name
Belle
is.
Gibbons.
Yeah.
But
Typical examples.
Yeah, but that's what I try to understand, Samantha. These people are playing, and I know somebody who's close to my heart, Dr. Liz. She says that her patients left her because they're going follow the Belle Gibson that they can cure cancer with a carrot.
Yeah.
And she says, do you understand what you're doing? You can't, and they obviously didn't go
but
with
this
the
is
one.
what I mean. They feed these people, monetize human need for meaning, human need for salvation.
Human salvation. You know, when I have the interview with you, that reminds me of the book I'm reading recently. No, I'm rereading second time. It's called Power of Meat of the Joseph Campbell. And it's an old book in 80s. A good friend of mine, Margarita, she lives in France.
Joseph Campbell, Seek Your Bliss.
This one's called Power of Meat, and he has a it's like a dialogue, but it's actually monologue between him and him, but he made a friend, and it's very powerful book. And that's when you talk these things, I said to myself, this is exactly what the meaning of the life it is, you know what I mean? Because most of us, meaning of life, it's actually seeking validation of our existence on a planet, and that's what you're saying, but people don't take responsibility.
No. Because they want somebody to latch onto. Because you don't feel, or subconsciously you don't feel that you are strong enough or knowledgeable enough or whatever. So if somebody comes and tells you something and that resonates with you in that moment, you latch onto that. Did that not happen to you ever? Even in relationships that happens. A charismatic guy comes, or a beautiful woman, and then she sells you the idea of something that you are longing for, and then you go for it, and then 10 years later you're divorced.
So true.
So do you understand that? So we're always
Yeah.
seeking something from someone to make us either complete or to make us... And then the liberation happens when you understand that it's only you. And everything is the projection of your mind onto everything else.
So far, we're walking on minefield of corporate burnout and culture.
But that's relevant. This is all relevant.
You illuminated quite a lot of the minefields people can navigate better. So I'm thankful for this.
But you latch on to the CEO, a charismatic CEO. You latch on to that because that, he's going to show me how to be, and if I do this, there was a man who tried to date me, right? And so I agreed we'll go to this is years ago. I'm celibate, by the way, no dating, no relationships. The last 10 years,
single but celibate. Okay, so that's good. Yeah,
totally.
Okay.
And so we're going out, and he worked for Salesforce. And so I'm saying, okay, so, what have you done with yourself? And he says, I've just come back from the conference that we had in Las Vegas or somewhere with Salesforce. And he said, this guy, Benioff, who is the CEO of Salesforce, I don't know his first name, he said, oh my God, what a man. He said, I was just standing there, and I'm looking at him going, you don't know this person. This person is spewing you something that his PR team has given him to talk about. He made a great company. I'm not,
disputing that.
No, but I'm like, hats off to you to build a multi-billion-dollar company. Great, fantastic. But that's what they create. That's what they feed of, these minions who are going to come and work for me because I'm charismatic, and I'm going to sell them the dream, and they're going to feel proud to work for Salesforce, and they're going to want to have that pass with Salesforce on it, and they're gonna, walk around the world like a badge of honor. I work for Salesforce, and that to me is no different to any religion, to any cult, to anything. And that's what we do to people because people are vulnerable.
Last year, I spent some time in Europe.
Right.
But one of my parts of my trip, I need to visit Berlin for some reason. I don't know, I was just drawn to Berlin.
Berlin is fabulous.
Yeah, it is. But one thing I always wanted to explore, it's East German secret intelligence organization, Stasi.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about Stasi, they know something. So I use Dr. Google and say, I want to talk to some people. And eventually I was being advised, why don't you go to German State Archive, ask them. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So there's a gentleman called Florian, who is an expert on Stasi, who knows the people from Stasi. And I start talking to them. So the people who used to be working for the Stasi, the hardcore communists, they hate CIA, hate everything, just, Red Star. I said, like, what was your success ratio with the foreign intelligence being in foreign countries? He said, 100%. I said, what do you mean? I said, like, haven't you ever, nobody betrayed you? He said, no. I said, like, why? Because people are family at home? He said, no, because they believe in the cause. Mm-hmm. They've gone that far that the Stasi will, from East Germany, send a message on the radio, however they agree, say, happy birthday, Samantha.
Yeah.
In a code. It will take all day to decipher, but say, happy birthday, Samantha, Workers' Party is Germany.
Right.
And I was like, man, can you imagine this? I'm in America, whatever, and you get that message from the home. And I said to myself, and he explained, he said, like, why do some corporations are successful is exactly what you're saying. Some of them, they believe in a cause, but you need to believe in leadership. And leadership, it's not always that what we think it is. Which brings me to...
not at all.
Which brings me to another topic, because my little eyes spy on you. For those who don't know, like, I'm going to put in the comment section below, Samantha, she did a TEDx presentation. And it's
going to talk about age.
Before that, I want to talk about motherhood.
Okay,
I want to talk about motherhood.
Motherhood,
yeah,
yes,
I want to talk about this. So I'm going to put in the comment section the link. You can see Samantha TEDx presentation. And that's, it's something. It's not like, I've been approached with a couple of organizations. You want to go on TEDx? I say, why should I go on TEDx?
You should.
Well,
you have a story to tell.
I enjoy this conversation more now. Let's go talk about motherhood identity, right? You're the mother, two children, right? And I remember when then my wife, she was pregnant. She applied for the job and she admitted that she's in her 3rd month of pregnancy.
No, she didn't get it.
She got it.
Oh, she got it.
But she needs to sign all conditions when she goes for the, what's it called? The
maternity leave.
Maternity, 15 days only. Unpaid. That's it. Boom.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that she signed. PeopleSoft, today Oracle, 15 days. And I said, like, look, I didn't understand the law in Australia, corporate law. So I think myself, that's sort of okay, I think.
It was terrible when I came here, yeah.
And that's, as you said, that's what it is. Put so much stress on her, and seeing my little one, like month-old, is going into kindergarten, it breaks my heart. Yeah. Now, as a mother, how did corporate world respond to your needs?
Well...
Or maybe you want to compare what you're seeing happen to you 20 years ago or now?
In 1986, when I had my first baby, I was lucky that I was in Holland, where you get a year off paid.
Oh my God, like that's called democracy.
So Holland is actually a socialist country. Many people don't know this, but it is. It's a capitalist in a way, but the social part of it is really good. When I had Marcus, it was 2001, and I was here, and I was working for a very big American company. That's how I came to Australia. It was called WorldCom, which is now Verizon, basically. And I could take 3 months off paid, which is the thing that I introduced into the company as an HR director at that time. Yeah. Otherwise, there was nothing. And then I decided, I'm going to take a year off to stay home with the baby. My ex-husband, then retired, and he said, because my husband was quite older than me, he was 20 years older. He's 20 years older. It was
a cradle snatcher.
So he said, look, Sammy, you go and do your thing. Because I said to him, if I have to go to another mother's group, I'm going to slash my wrists. I can't deal with it.
I just love your honesty.
Yeah, I can't deal with it. I'm a person who loves to learn and solve problems. Yeah. I'm not the person who... I mean, I love my children. I really do. And to a certain extent, I regret leaving Marcus when he was a year old, going back to work. But on the other hand, I don't, because I showed him that, and he remembers it very differently. But... did I feel supported by the corporate Australia? Not really. I couldn't really talk about my child. I, had to take medicine to stop my breastfeeding things because you can't sit in meetings where your breasts are leaking and stuff like that. It's embarrassing. And at that time, I was working for, where was I? I was at Pfizer, at a pharmaceutical company, very male-oriented, lots of male sales reps, lots of, there was no female director of any part of Pfizer at that point in time.
My God.
Other than the HR lady. And even she had a boss who was man. Yeah, so in that respect, I find that we've come a long way. It is much more accepted now. However, I think my observation is that we're still paying a lot of lip service to motherhood because we put women in a double bind. We still want them to perform, but we also still want them to be mothers. So a woman is, in our day and age, in a worse position than she was before.
So you're saying that we created a problem by creating solution, we create a problem.
Yeah, well, we're giving women time off. You can take a year off, at a certain amount of pay, but you become then invisible. And if the headcount cuts come, you'll be the first to go. Still, to this day. I won't say 100%.
So what message corporation sends to the working mothers?
Well, they pay them lip service. They say, that's fine. You take your maternity leave and stuff, but you judged. You always judged.
Always judged.
Always judged. Women, unfortunately, are judged much more than men.
So how we look? That was not part of my question. I don't think this one because female, male, and I don't want to be seen as anything. Except, the guy who...
You are just you, Mario. You're a human being. That's fine.
But, how this can be rectified, Sam? You have spent so much time working corporations and now advising the recruitment companies. And you still have the other part of your curriculum advising other corporations how to run the business, headcounts and all these things. But I'll ask you as a mother, as a woman, where the fuck we go wrong? Where the corporations go wrong, okay? I don't love... I don't live in a boys' club. Whenever times at this boys' club, blah, 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 I see the group of weak people because, I don't need to hang out with 50 of you to prove my whatever I am, you know what I mean? But I don't like that feeling, somebody being cut off because I'm the father of one. Yeah. And I know what Teresa, she's gone through, through that ordeal with the corporation she worked. Even they tried to look after her, but they were cutting her everywhere. And eventually they cut her off. First one where they go reconstruction. Yeah. And we're like, come on, because you're a baby. So
because you're seen as somebody who can't devote, they expect you to give your whole life to the company. They do. That's still the norm. Yeah, and if you don't do that, you're not perceived as a team player. You're not perceived as productive. You're perceived probably as lazy. When you put boundaries in place, you are automatically labeled as something different. Yeah, when you put boundaries, when you say I have to leave at 5:00, it's very rare. I've seen it in not-for-profits where they say that's fine. You have all the flexibility you want. Yeah. Not-for-profits operate quite differently, but they still expect you to put in the hours. So if you go and pick up your kid at 3, they expect you to be back online at 8 to finish the work.
You know what?
So this is, until we change the culture, until we change the system where women are not seen as lesser beings, and I'm being very honest, all our medical field is based on male research. It's not based on female research. I didn't know this now. Oh, absolutely. It's going.
Why is that? Look, I'm now.
Because most doctors were always male, and it was it was logical, it was normal, and then it becomes a habit. It becomes a norm. Yeah. So until we change the culture where women are revered for what we do, we create life. We can't create it without you, of course, and that's great. But we carry for 9 months, we give birth, we sort of, rip our bodies in two to bring new life into the world. Men don't. And yet, the whole system is set up against us. Instead of supporting that,
so why this BS in the public? Why with that bullshit in the public then? gap, it's going to be, try to close the gap in the salaries. We try to do this, try to do that. Why nobody says it's not done? And do you believe that millennials going to fix this?
The Gen Z might.
Might.
This new people that are born now in 2025, they might be more indigo children who will bring a huge change to the world. I will unfortunately die without seeing.
Why you call it the indigo? Sorry, before
the indigo children are. There was a term used probably even 20 years ago about kids who came into the world and had memories of past lives who were So it was just a different generation that thinks very differently.
I'm glad that you speak about this. I can't speak about behalf of the women.
No.
And I always come back to this thing that I was being taught to respect women by my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And in school. So nobody need to teach me.
Did your mom work full time?
Yeah, she was a factory worker.
All right.
And my father always says to me, doesn't matter what I did. If I go against my mother, he will rip my skin off. And you have to respect your mother. Your mother gave you the birth. She works hard, this and that, right? We have all
But
this.
that's also a Slavic culture. It's a bit different. Although Slav men are a bit crazy.
Well, my father was.
No, my father was crazy. Absolutely.
It was, look, we are brought up to this, on this world. You have the one country, one mother, and one God. That's it. Boom.
That's it.
Nothing else does exist. But if you touch my mother, there's a war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how much we know each other.
Yeah.
You never go against somebody's mother.
That's
a final insult, right?
But with women working, you're creating a system where motherhood and success are mutually exclusive. They're totally mutually exclusive. If you want to be successful, you can't be a mother. Not really. You can be, but not really. You will have nannies, and you will have somebody who will take that for you, because the hours that are expected from you and what you need to do, you can't do both.
Can you share some secrets with me?
Sure.
Okay, nobody doesn't know except 300,000 followers, subscribers. When a woman applies for the job, in Australia, so there's no age group. Like you apply for such and such a job, must be between 18 to 24. So there's no age group when you apply for the job. But
there is.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
How they determine the employee or recruiter? I mean, if you can share the secret, of course,
sure.
if you come, because I try to understand, because we come to now to the point where I want to talk to you about ageism and why we have these age groups in the first place when you apply the jobs. What is it? Because women with 50 years old is not good enough, or
women of 50 are considered probably change resistant. Yeah, too old, invisible, not influential enough.
Okay.
Yeah, men the same though. If you haven't made your success, meaning you haven't reached some sort of a VP or C-suite or whatever, you are deemed as expendable. Yeah, so you will be replaced much quicker than if you were somewhere up there in the, ivory towers of C-suite. Men over 60 especially find it really hard, because men over 60 are deemed to be old-fashioned, set in their ways, arrogant, and that's the corporate kind of thing. Women, we become invisible at around 45.
Oh, that's so early.
At around 45 in corporate world, you are considered old, already old. Yeah, whether you'd be valuable, how in a sense on how clever you are, how much you built, how much success you've done yourself, then you will be, valuable. Otherwise, you'll just plod along.
Thank you for your honesty. Now I want to talk about part.
Yeah.
This is media interview, so it can't stay with us. So, we covered now the burnout, motherhood, identity, some type of leadership. But as I say, when I was spying on you,
when you were stalking me.
Research. First thing when I saw the video, TEDx, you talk about ageism, and you spoke about story, was there, very powerful story. I can't quote now, but I remember was stuck in my ears now.
About Benjamin Button.
That's correct. So being over 50,
Yeah.
how did you fight way back?
I don't.
For everybody who
yeah.
listen right now over 50, I'm 53, gonna be in September this year. For me, it's a little bit different because I've worked for myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, not sometimes, many times, Matteo says to me, Dad, I'm glad you don't think about your age. It's like, Matteo, I'm still 53. I'm 53. And he says to me, yeah, but you don't behave that way. It's like, well, is that good or bad? I don't know. But
It's good.
you as a professional,
Yeah.
you saw the ageism, what does in the work. Your TEDx presentation is about age group.
Yes.
But you are the one who need to fight way back.
Yeah.
So like, I want to hear from you.
How I did that?
How did you that? How did you felt that you become invisible?
It makes me laugh.
That's not the answer.
But as an individual,
Yes.
I have always had a spine of steel. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I went through a lot of stuff that made me very strong. You know, the Nietzsche says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Well, lots of things didn't kill me, so therefore I'm quite strong.
Okay.
And so for me, when people dismiss me, or I'm sitting at the table and younger people don't even want to look at me, I just laugh, and then I will say something shocking to get people a little bit shook up and go,
yeah.
Who is she, right?
Yeah.
And I don't fight it. I find in life, my grandmother used to say this. She used to say, "What you resist persists."
True.
Right. So I don't fight anything. I just march to the beat of my own drum. And I've been very lucky in life. There is a lady called Helen Lyons who I will introduce you to, who has, I call her my spirit sister.
Okay.
She's a bit older than me, not much older, but a bit older. And she always tells me, Sam, pay it forward. So my way of fighting anything back is I serve. Not myself, I serve. So I will find a way to add value to anybody who crosses my path. And that's my mission in life is, if you cross my path, I want you to leave feeling better or with something that I gave you that's valuable. And that's how I fight back. So I don't focus on, oh my God, I'm invisible. Oh my God, I have to have Botox. Oh my God, I have to have plastic surgery. No, sir. I am going to turn to being useful and finding my worth in serving other people. That's, to me, is how I
that
fight
nobody
back.
talks that way. When I listen people talk about, everyone loves to talk about success. And everyone loves to talk about what they achieve.
But what is success? What is it?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, so everybody has a different definition.
Yeah.
I think that in my personal circumstances, I learned I would say 5 years, since my son has a brain surgery and removed the epilepsy. And even doctor says, look, that's a sheer luck. He says 1 in a million. He said, because even doctors, they don't know nothing about epilepsy, just remove the part of the brain exactly where it is. And then I was sitting there and I said this clearly. I been involved, witnessed many horrific situations in my life.
Yeah.
But when my son went for surgery, I was covered. When they pushed him in, I ran out and I cried and I smoked. I didn't want to know nothing, just give me good news. But when you talk about being over 50, you display a lot of courage, right?
Yeah.
And for me, success, as I said, last 5 years, it's most valuable currency, which is health. I think that being healthy, it's the most valuable currency, and that's what the success it is in today's day and age. But when I was watching TEDx, I said, like, this woman has the balls of steel, not the spine of steel, but because talk that way, you talk in the name of the billions of people who are 50 plus.
100%.
Why did you spoke about this?
Because I saw the carnage that's being done to people that I know. A friend of mine, an ex-colleague of mine, who is so smart, she's so brilliant, and she was reduced to go and work as a shop girl in David Jones because nobody would give her a job. and she had a mother that she had to care for, so she had to accept anything to go and work. I've seen a man in his 60s who, a brilliant man, a wonderful human being, a great chief HR officer, who is struggling to find a temporary work in his 60s. And it's not even that he has to work, but he wants to work. He doesn't want to sit at home and watch cricket all day. Yeah. And so, I've seen psychological damage that this does to people, the confidence that is eroded, the tears, the grown men that are reduced to feeling useless and forgotten. And it just, I have to do something about it.
And you did it.
Yeah.
You showed us something with the most of corporate culture. I love those, when they come on a stage and there's a couple chairs and they take the mics and it's like,
oh, God, yeah.
I was this and that. I know most of these people, talking the things on a big stage. They're inventing things. That's my job. But talking to you, it's speaking with somebody who lived that life. And that's the difference, you know what I mean?
But you know what,
yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Lots of males especially, they define themselves through their work. So I am my job.
Okay.
In corporate world. Yeah. So, for example, statistically, once you've been a CEO and then you leave and retire, very frequently they either get very sick after a couple of years, or they have a psychological issue, or they die because nobody calls, they're not important, there's the whole life is different. So how you defined yourself your whole life, all of a sudden that's obsolete and you become invisible. So that's hugely difficult, and mostly men, they define themselves through that. And women, we are much more pragmatic in lots of ways, but I've even seen in my wisdom network, I have this wisdom network where there's all these people over 55 and we meet every couple of months. There is a lady who has been very high up in a project management world.
Yeah.
She cannot get a job for no life, no money. She just came back from abroad, and Australia has just shut every door in her face.
So, can I just reflect this? For my 50th birthday, which was 2 years ago, my son comes to me and he says to me, "You got the mail." I was like, "Mail?" Nobody remember mail, you know what I mean? I don't remember my days when I was writing the mail to my girlfriend.
Yes.
But there was a mail from the New South Wales Health or something, right? So it's a big package. I said, "What is this?" He says to me, "I think that's a bowel cancer screening test." I said, "Why needed this?" He says to me,
I refuse to do those.
No, he says to me, "I think it's time to consider yourself senior citizen." I said, "What do you mean?"
Nah, that's 60.
No.
65.
Yeah, but it's a 50. It's and then for some reason appears the insurance, API insurance for the pensioners 50 plus.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, but I'm 50 years old. So I went to my GP for the I need to do every 3 months serological test for the boxing, which is HIV, AIDS, and all these things. And they can put a stamp in your blue book. You can do fights. And I said to him, "Win, what is this?" He says, "Mario, they're packaging people at age 50 into nursing homes." I said, "I don't understand." And
You're
truth it
kidding me. You heard me on my TED Talk. I said one morning I opened my email. It's funeral services, over 50 insurance. I was just going, "Oh my God, I'm old. Look at this."
So why the society? What do you think? Why society does this? And in a hindsight, Sam, you're very, very smart woman. You have so much, battles, under your feet.
God,
yeah. And you face so many obstacles in your life.
You don't even know.
Well, it's not my place.
You know some, but the half of it is just some things are horrific. Actually, what I've been through.
So you saw these things, but why the society is cruel? Why we make these boundaries? I'm asking as a human to human.
Human to human. It was my honest opinion.
Yeah, because I just want to draw the parallel. I'm getting a lot of Facebook messages last maybe 6 months about people I know who are very close and very fond to my heart. They took their life or they died somehow. This is the people who used to be working in the army. By age 48, they're all retired. And military is good till the moment that the doors are being shown. All compartments of your life being kept under control. Once when you leave, you have no purpose, you don't belong to nobody, nothing.
That's it.
And you said this very well. Suddenly they don't belong to nobody. They start
Nobody
drinking.
calls.
Nobody calls. They start drinking and doing everything opposite what they've done entire life.
That's right.
I'm asking as a human to human, as a friend to friend, why on earth we doing this to ourselves? Why we are compartmentalize our lives by age, by the group? You are good, you are not good.
But that's how you conditioned, Mario. From small age, you said it yourself. Mother, God, country, you are conditioned to be this way. And unless you start thinking for yourself at a certain point, you will be caught in this, what Indians call it samsara, the circle of life and death. You'll be caught in that and you will never wake up. Waking up is hard, Mario. It's always easier to go home and watch TV and do mindless social media scrolling, and because it's really difficult facing your own mortality. It's difficult knowing that you're going to die and that your life maybe doesn't have any meaning other than procreation and work. It's very, very scary to sit alone in silence like Shiva on the top of the mountain and sort of look inside yourself and be confronted with your own mortality and your insignificance. Because all of us are walking around feeling very special and having an invisible sign that says, I'm special. Look at me, I dress different. Look at me, I think different. Look at me. You're trying to find meaning. You're trying to latch on to Jay Shetty. You're trying to do all of these things. The most difficult thing in the world is to wake up. The most difficult to yourself, who you really are, what your soul is, recognizing that you're a soul in a meat drag and not a body with some kind of soul that's attached to it. That's the most difficult thing. Try sitting in total and utter silence without distraction. See how long you last. If you last 5 minutes, I'll think you're a genius.
I need to say something. This is like
I'm being very honest. It's like that. That's what we do to ourselves.
This is like try to call it for the date. This is most meaningful conversation I ever had with anybody. No, honestly,
I'm
because
honored.
No, seriously.
No, I'm serious. I'm honored. Like, I don't think of myself as hugely anything other than.
Well, I think you should, because I say something from my experience. We talk about alpha males. My father was one of those, killer, everything else.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of guys in my suburb where I was born, was growing up, rough and tough guys. When the war broke out, none of them, they ran on me. They ran away with the mommy holding undies, wife's hands, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there was average Joe next to me always. And I said to myself, how is this even possible that average Joe now is next to me when all these, rough and tough guys should be first in the front line, they're not. No. Same with you. I think that conversation with you has a more meaning, and I say it's going to create I think truly believe it's going to create a more cathartic emotions in people rather than giving them blueprint to success. Because
I have no blueprint for success.
Our interview is not a blueprint. You're blue enough. So today it's like, for those who don't know, my guest Samantha Z Jabich in studio.
Yeah.
She's in blue.
I'm in blue.
And a blue coat. Okay. And Bekes is not, right? So anyway, so I will try to say, I'm very grateful that you speak your heart.
I do.
Combined with your life experience. As I say, you show more balls than most of the people. And the way you talk to me, it's like I remember now my father before he passed away.
Yeah.
The night before he passed away, he wanted to talk to me for some reason. He was all cheerful. And he says to me, I wish this, wish. I said, dude, but you never done this.
That's right.
And he says to me, because I was a coward and you're not. And now, this is what a woman with the balls looks like. It's you. I'm saying this with a full authority and credibility because nobody can even impress me remotely with their BS stories.
No.
I want to ask you a simple question for everybody who's listening now, who is being told you are too old to work at the workplace. What Samantha Z Jabich will give them advice to anybody? Actually, let's go now make a group, but anybody who's been told you are too old to work.
Anybody who ever tells you that. So on the age thing, I found incredible freedom after I turned about 50. All of a sudden, when you are not driven anymore by a combination of hormones, romance, chasing success, that becomes so secondary to living your life. Because I just realized at one point, I'm going through life without living life.
Right now?
No.
Before, yeah.
I'm going through life without living life. I'm chasing paper. I'm chasing success. I'm chasing approval. I'm chasing romance. I'm chasing sex. I'm chasing the enjoyment. I'm chasing comfort. Stop. So when they tell you it's too old, too nothing, stop. Take a breath and understand you are entering an age of wisdom. You are entering an age where you can actually understand that you can start living your life the way you want to live your life. Change, reinvent yourself. Change, open a bakery, go live in Maldives somewhere on a raft, write a book, do the podcast, reinvent yourself. Don't be afraid of living. Like, life is so short. You're going to be dead. You're going to be looking at the lid of the coffin very soon.
Just now they answered the question. I was looking.
Yeah.
As I said, my son this morning, I like it that he's actually becomes now the engine, under my old hood. 4 o'clock in the morning, come on, dude, let's go for the gym. I said, cool. So like I was the one, you know what I mean? But now he pushes me and...
Good.
And, go out and it's so cold. But you just now
feel the cold.
Yeah,
feel the cold.
I'll leave this for some other time. It's like, but the thing is, you answer now the question that we are entering as I wrote this by you, entering the age of wisdom.
Yes.
We are afraid to leave.
Yes.
Do you agree? Would you agree with me that we are afraid to leave because we're going to be judged by our decision?
100%. And who is judging you?
Well,
who is judging you? And why does it matter?
Well,
why does it matter? As long as you sort of don't hurt anybody, just live your life. Say what you mean. Be brutally honest. Be yourself. I don't hide anymore. People hide.
Would you agree with me that when we put together all these coaches, leaders, the CEOs, everything on top of us, and sort of like, and I was the one, I was like, I'll not bullshit, to you on my podcast right now. I remember 2009 when I lost a job, my wife then, she lost as well. Matteo got the epilepsy. Life was going horrible, right? Chefs on the door, took at everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I left, I said, I need to make money. I left my family and everything else. It was like, I'm not proud of the things I did, but I did it because I'm the man. I'm the one who needs to bring the, dough on the table. Yeah. Well, it doesn't work that way. Took 5 years before I made the money.
Right.
But the thing is, I was the one who was looking for the solution to my problems.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you, Sam.
No.
I wish I knew it and have this conversation.
But if we knew each other then, I wouldn't have been the same person.
Yeah, I agree with you. But in essence, today you are clarifying these mistakes I did, which I can't say to my son because he's needs to go that part of trials and errors and everything else. I try to correct him, everything I mean. Yeah. But the thing is, I'm very grateful that you share this with us. Like, we're chasing the things which they're supposed to be secondary. I know we need to work to pay the bills.
Of course.
But we are afraid of our life to be judged.
But we are afraid of discomfort.
Okay, tell me.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
We are afraid of, I won't have that car, and I won't have that house, and I won't have that
trophy
clothes,
wife. I want to have
the jewelry, and I won't have... And why? Because somebody will say, oh, Mario, but you used to be like this, and now what is this now, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or, Sam, how come you're not driving your car anymore and you're driving and you on a bicycle? What the fuck does it matter?
Yeah.
It's the quality of my life that I want. It's waking up in the morning and seeing something beautiful and listening to the birds, or having my cat or a dog with me, or have a phone call from my son, or have a conversation with you and say, Mario, let's go and get a coffee together.
Yes, please.
Yeah? Or even not a coffee. We can't afford a coffee, Mario. Let's just go and have a walk.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, when you come to this age, the wisdom is knowing what matters. Simple.
That's very emotional.
Yeah.
You want to stop?
Why?
I never...
That also happens with age. You cry at the drop of a hat.
That leads me to the message, the question about mental health.
Yeah.
And you seeing in corporate world that we've been driven to that success, KPIs. Mm-hmm. I was, for many years, I was thinking myself, what is the KPIs, key performance index? So like, and I was like, what does it even mean? Like, somebody invented something. It's a norm. Like, that's like in socialism, right? You know what I mean? My father was a welder. So he needs to weld like 10, these big barrels, you know what I mean? Like 5 tons, liters, whatever it was. He says like, dude, I can do only 3, but I need to do 5 per day. It was like killing him. Should CEOs, or whatever they call them, hedgehogs, whatever it is, be held accountable for the mental well-being in corporations?
Yes,
Same
they should.
you saw again.
Yeah.
And
yes, they should.
Yeah.
They should. So the CEOs are judged on their performance.
yeah,
Yeah. But who delivers the performance? It's the people that are in your care. So being a CEO, being a leader, is not about being in charge of the people. It's about serving the people that you are leading, right? Which you will know from the army. Yeah. So if the CEO is, the performance measure is the bottom line, and it's how well the company performs. Who makes the company perform are the people. If your people are burnout, if you're having a turnover of people that is 25% and more, meaning you're churning through them as much as you can because of the toxic culture or unrealistic expectations or whatever it is, then you should be judged on that. Your bonus and your performance should be judged on that as well. How mentally well your people are. And what systems did you put in place to prevent burnout, to prevent people from living a toxic life because they have to. Yeah? So your question on putting the CEO in for 1 month, some CEOs would understand then, I need to make better conditions for my people. But we've been going through this since the Industrial Revolution. And things have changed for the better somewhat. We do have team pizza, and we do get people to present to us about stress and give us techniques on how to cope with stress. But nobody's fixing the system. Why do we have a 5-day work week? Why don't we have a 4-day work week? Why do we have to work 8 hours a day? Why don't we work 4? So, I remember the time when I was at school and we started with computers, and the teacher was telling us how we all going to be working very little because all these computers going to give us so much time. And all it did is make us work more and faster. Okay, so these are the systems that we have put in place. Is the CEO responsible? Yes, because the CEOs and the boards have the power to say, for our employees, we're going to do this. There's that company, Kathmandu.
Yeah.
Shorter week, happier people. There's an Italian company, and then they had an interview, and she said, well, your people work only 6 hours a day, and they have like 6 weeks of holiday or 7 weeks of holiday. She said, well, why not? They're happy. They come to work happy. They do better work for me. They make better product. They're nicer to my customers.
One thing you just highlighted right now, and when I go in my office, I treat my employees the way I always want to be treated. So like, I know you're going to make it fun. I don't bring the pizza, I bring the donuts. Like I was in Melbourne the other day. So from the airport, I got these donuts called Daniel's Donuts, and I brought them from Melbourne. And I said, 7,000 kilometers just for you guys. They say, but it was, I saw that light in the eyes. Even when the birthdays of my investigators, I tried to send some card. I always try to treat the people the way I want to be treated.
But you can't set them up the way you want because the rest of the world is this way.
That's correct. And they tell me, I wish this and wish that. But the world listen now this message. And when you talk about CEOs, like in Australia,
they should be held accountable for mental health.
Only time when I hear about CEOs is like when they share the good news somewhere on TV.
Yeah.
Or that biggest bullshit when I hear the CEO sleep out. It's like, I like to be there. I like to see really that CEO sleeps all night because I don't see nothing. It's a good picture and they go home, right?
It's one night.
But you should lead by your example.
But they don't.
They don't. And that's just like, people should.
Publicly they do.
Yeah.
Publicly. Because the optics of stuff is important. Do you remember that movie with John Travolta, I think it was, when he says it's all about what we want you to see.
Yes, that's correct.
So you're curating what people want to see, and CEO can do that because they have such big resources behind them, the big PR machine and this and that and the other, like celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what the truth is? Look at Diddy.
Yeah. Oh,
look, 30 years we thought something entirely
exactly,
different.
And I said like, that was with Diddy was like interesting. I said to this at my work, I said like, it's interesting. This guy has been portrayed by media.
Yeah.
As somebody who's a whiz kid, all these things. So,
whiz kid, super successful.
We put all these gangsters, as a successful people. Yeah. But we need more Sam. That's what we need, more Samantha. And I'm very grateful that Samantha is today with us.
That's good.
So Sam, you choose coaching not as a business, but as a mission.
As a mission.
Why is that?
Because
I steal that from your website. It's a good question. Huh?
That's a very good question. But for me, it's a mission because I understand people's vulnerability and I like to serve. That's my motto, is I serve. And so coaching for me is not about making money out of coaching. That's a completely secondary thing. And frequently I coach for nothing, to be very honest with you. Frequently I would just go, let me coach you now because I can see you need it. Mission in life is every person that comes in contact with me will leave better. That's the mission. I cannot change the whole world in one go.
Do you understand what did you say right now? The person who meets me is going to walk better. Yeah. I can say one thing. When I met you first time, one of the events of our
Did you feel better about yourself when you left? Or?
Yes. Yeah. And as I said, I said this clearly. Yes, I was in one, I can't say where, but I was being in position to...
We had an amazing conversation.
Yeah, that's correct, yesterday. But yes, I said to myself, I'm going to speak tomorrow with Sam. And I can't just wait to open these questions. I love conversing with people. Yeah. And as I say, it's difficult for me just to create a content who's going to please certain group of people. I want people to take this home and they sit on this, those who are traveling now between Sydney and Melbourne. When I was flying in Melbourne, I was seat next to me was a guy who was very successful. Yeah. I never asked him nothing. He was showing me all these details on his laptop. I said to him, look, I just want to share something with you. I'm the guy who was working human intelligence. I was the guy who was taking information for people like you. Why are you showing this to me? He's like, oh, really? I was like, well, it's too late now. But who asked you to impress me about anything? I wasn't interested. So I can hope people, when traveling or commuting between the Sydney and Melbourne, download this podcast. Listen, Sam. I'm going to put in the comment section below all the same details. You can call, reach her.
Yes,
but I feel better. Free. That's I say, I feel better after coffee with you because it's a privilege to take your time from any other man, any other woman, and I'm sitting there with you having coffee.
I'm actually grateful to give you time because it's my opportunity to get to know you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
It's true, though.
So what broke you to open that path, to become the coach? Why did you choose to become coach as a mission? You could be very successful, CEO of some recruitment companies.
Oh, again, why? That's what I mean.
That's a question.
It's, in a sense, it becomes irrelevant anymore. Success to me is what I feel inside of me. It's not what the world sees. What the world sees to me is absolutely and completely irrelevant. Nobody pays my bills, Mario. I pay my bills. So unless you are taking care of me, it doesn't really matter to me what you think of me. It doesn't. What matters to me is how I treat you as a human being and what I can contribute to your life, what value I can add to you. If we are... look, don't get me wrong. I know how to put people in their place when they're nasty.
I have no doubt.
I have absolutely no qualms to deal with rudeness or with people who try to put me down. Or most of the time I walk away because I'm scared of how I can annihilate them. So most of the time I will not say anything and I will just walk away. Yeah, because I don't want to damage a human being, and I can. I know all the dark psychology tricks to actually do some damage to people, but I don't choose to do that. Okay.
Nobody's. Again, I start interrupting.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Nobody speaks that way. You see, everybody tries to portray the opposite.
No.
I'm powerful. I'm strong. I know what I'm doing.
I am human.
But
I feel every emotion. I feel anger. I feel pride. I feel envy. I feel jealousy. I feel all the variety of emotions that I feel. Of course, I feel. But I stop and say, okay, why do I feel it? What is this emotion trying to tell me? Emotions are your guides. Yeah.
So what's the most common reason for somebody comes to you to be coached for? Is that a certain figure? They saw the advertising. Somebody says,
I don't advertise anything.
No, you. Somebody says, I saw on TV. Can you do this for me? Can you?
So usually there'll be somebody that I coached before, and they will say, oh, you know what? When I was struggling with that, I met this lady, and she put me straight. Yeah?
Okay.
Because I don't coach like normal coach either. So
should I be afraid to say?
No. So my coaching is not. Most coaches have a model, and they will put you into that model. Okay, and they will run you through their process, and they will not give you advice because they want you to come up with an answer yourself. And I recognize that some people just cannot do that. And no matter how hard you try, it's like psychology. If you go to a psychologist, they don't tell you anything. Just and how does that feel? Tell me how that feels. I'm like, you're going to tell me how I can make myself better or not? Yeah.
That is so true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody try to put you in some type of compartment or something. The one thing I went for the Tony Robbins something. I wanted to see with my own eyes. $1,250 was a ticket with 21,000 people there. Yeah. And I say straight away from the offset, that's the biggest bullshit, because
he works a lot with NLP, with neuro-linguistic programming.
He does. I'll reflect this. I have somebody here called Dr. Basil Bunting. He's a forensic psychiatrist who wanted to move from, being forensic psychiatrist to become the, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He's a 70s-old man. He said, Mari, but I wanted to know more what they're using this NLP. And I said, how did you go with that one? He said, I know what the NLP it is. They use it for the trauma with the people, sexual harassment and blah, blah. He said, but I want to see how they apply in a corporate world. I said, and how did you go this one? He said, I went to the very high-powered man in US. A lot of money spent for 3 days course. And he says, after 1 hour, I asked this guy, how do you know? He said, refused my answer, to answer me. So I asked another 2 times, and he says, why are you so interested? He says, I'm a psychiatrist. I want to know because I want to, what do you references are for this?
Yeah.
He's been kicked out. No money.
Yeah. It's funny.
So the question I do have for you now, so everybody who's listening right now, Sam, who is burnout, who is feeling unhappy, what your message would be to them? Or maybe they want to get out, walk out from the big job.
It's scary. It's really scary because the market is really scary as well for lots of people. You first have to recognize where you're at. Yeah, sometimes people don't recognize that they're stuck. Yeah, and they think a friend of mine currently is going through this, and I keep saying, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave. And she keeps saying, yes, but my mortgage, yes, but this, yes, but that. All valid, yeah. But if you cannot leave where you're at because of finance, you have to start to regain your sovereignty of yourself. Reclaim yourself. And what does that look like? Say no. Start small. When somebody asks you, will you stay over time? Will you do this? Say, oh, bless, I'd love to help you, but I can't. Yeah? Okay. So start with that. Try and do stillness. Stillness. So in the morning when you wake up, don't just jump out of bed and sort of just give yourself 3-4 minutes just to connect with yourself. Connect with yourself. 3-4 minutes, 5 if you can, 10 10 even better. Don't grab your phone and get scrolling and stuff. Connect with yourself. One technique that you can do is, what am I hearing? What am I feeling? What I'm tasting? What I'm touching? All those things, yeah? Yeah, one thing I can see, one thing I can feel, I can do. Just connect with yourself, yeah? And then do little things that are out of the ordinary. Take another route to work. Try to talk to one stranger per day out of the blue. Just ask a question. Like you saw me today in the cafe. I will start a conversation with a person. Yeah?
I know, you're not shy.
No. But why be shy?
No, just,
people are afraid of judgment. People are afraid of smile at someone. So regain control of yourself to make yourself stronger. Once you're stronger, paths will open. And start applying for jobs. Doesn't matter if you get rejected 50, 100 times. Just do it for the...
Your saturated market,
the market is really tough because people are letting a lot of people go. So there's a lot of people floating around. But there is something that I call the social contagion. Yeah, you will read something in the paper, you will become fearful, and you will take it as a truth. May not be. You may have. The other thing is reinvent yourself. What are you good at? Yeah, what are you good at? What can you do? There are thousands of free resources that you can access on the internet, and I'm quite happy to send some links to you that you can publish. And that explore what I'm good at, what is my passion, what is my vocation, what do I want to do? Like if I had a magic wand and could create my life, what would it be? Yeah, start daydreaming like when you were a child, and start creating. We are powerful creators, all of us. You create everything in your life. Everything you see around yourself was at one point an idea, a thought, in someone's head. Understand that you are a powerful creator. You are insignificant as a human being on the planet, but in your own life, you can create whatever you want. There is no limit to what you can and cannot do. Remember Henry Ford when he said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Yeah. So understanding that you have agency, that you have power, that you have... you are in control of your life. And the one most important thing for me is always treat yourself like you are a business. Have a board of directors. So you got to have somebody who will advise you, somebody who will advise you on health, somebody who will talk to you about these things, about emotions and stuff. Surround yourself with 5 people, if you can, who will be your A-team, who will be there for you.
Most people disagree with you that 5 people is not enough.
5 people
I agree
is
with
enough.
You. Yeah.
One hand. Yeah, 5. I have 4, but that's another thing.
You know, the time flies with you. Like literally flies with you, and like there's not enough of you.
Yeah.
Okay, did you put this properly? There's not enough of your knowledge, because what we can... I remember my grandfather who, when he was talking as a kid, I didn't find very interesting things. But as I become older and replacing the shorts with the long pants, and I remember he told me, he said, like, I really don't want you to ever become work intelligence. And I become everything what he never wanted me to become. And then I realized that everything what he told me was his abundance life experience, which I disregarded. I don't want to use some derogative words, but
when we're young, we do that.
yeah. And now, like, I feel I'm obliged to say this, guys. Today, you've been equipped and armed by the woman who saw everything, who experienced it, and good and bad. She fought the battles most of us can't even comprehend, not even me. So I'll not, praise Sam and say Sam is this, Sam is that. But Sam is, she give you now the tips how to reclaim your own power. She didn't give you tips how to chase a 7-figure job, because you can do this on your own. Yeah. But we somehow down the track, we lose ourselves. Yeah. Now,
there is a stop protocol that I didn't tell you about.
Would you like to share that one?
Sure.
Please.
So stop protocol is when you're in these situations, when you're stuck. So the first one is to be still. Yeah, find stillness and connect with yourself. Second one is to be truthful with yourself. So don't lie to yourself. You know when you're lying to yourself. You know when you're trying to talk yourself into something. Stop and say to yourself, no, I will not lie to myself. Okay?
Who are you, man?
The third one is oxygen. We breathe very shallowly. So you learn how to breathe. Just breathe. A couple of times a day, just stop yourself and breathe. And the fifth one is the physical thing. So do something physical every day. Ground yourself. Take your shoes off. Go and stand on the beach in the sand. Just ground yourself. Connect yourself back to nature. So it's called the stop protocol. That's how I'll send you all of this, Mark.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. You just have to remind me because I'll forget. My age brain doesn't work all that well.
Don't remind me of these things, please. That's like, even I said to my son, I said, lucky I wrote these books, my experience in the war and everything else. He says, like, what, did you forget? I said, Mateo, yes, I did. I'm forgetting slowly. Fading these things.
That's normal. And it's all the microplastics that we ingest.
It is. And I remember on the Intelligence Academy, we have the special subject. I remember that doctor, she comes in and she says, you die 22,000 times per day. And we were like, huh? Mm-hmm. Say, and equally number of times you are reborn.
That's
we're like,
right.
Wait, what is this like? So she says, you take it granted that breathing it's normal, but you cannot control. Every time you breathe in, you're alive, and breathe out, it can be your last breath. Yeah. And I'm like, but being 22, 23 is like, oh, come on, just give me my badge and gun, I just want to, be a spy. So, and every woman.
Yeah. But I just want to tell you this,
yes,
like when I talk about these protocols, when I talk about things, it's to encourage you to rebuild your brain. All these things, they're actually building new neural pathways in your brain, making you more wise, basically. The other thing that, happiness is not a state. We're all searching for happiness. Happiness are moments. It's not a state of being.
Yeah.
It's not a state of being. And the third thing, hope, is really important in human life because it's not an emotion. Hope is a neurological process. Hope actually, when you're hopeful, it builds more neurological pathways in your brain as well. Yeah. So these things are people don't talk about it, but they're important to know. So when you're doing the stop protocol, when you're doing the sovereignty, when you're doing all these things, it's you are doing yourself a favor, becoming wiser, becoming more equipped to live.
Why interview with you, I found very, very enlightening. And seriously, it's priceless. Because I mentioned Tony Robbins. So
yes, you didn't finish that. So you went to see it.
I paid that ticket for the man who really, first of all, in my head, the man who changed the name and surname to appear the public. It's just be Tony, whatever you are name. But then I realized standing there with 21,000 people and looking at the social media hashtags. So the spot in front of him was like a $15,000-$20,000.
Jeez.
Bro, you're not a messiah.
But he thinks he is because I don't think he thinks he is. He knows that he can manipulate people.
That's correct. And then I
Yes.
said to a person next to me, which I go into a big ordeal, I need to do a little research. And then I come to this point that Tony Robbins, he works on hype, no question asked.
Yeah.
The human ear can hear 125 words. You can speak 450 words per minute.
Yeah.
You can hear 125, but you can understand 25. Above this, it's a hype. That's just why people go 3 days later and then 4 days, like, my dreams are crashed. There's no Tony Robbins. But one thing struck me straight away. If I was doing investigation, I said, like, who are the people here? Okay, we all have dreams, we all have desires. I paid $1,250 to listen to this guy with 21,000 people. And then something just, eureka. And I said to myself, we are all coming from different walks of life. Some people know English, somebody don't. Somebody's executive, somebody's not. So only what he could do it is adjust his conversation to appeal. Actually, what he did, I'll be abrupt. He sell me bullshit, my dreams, wrap it into red ribbon, back to me.
Yeah.
And he's gone.
Yeah.
And I said, Tony Robbins, I congratulate you.
But he's smart.
I was like, congratulate you. And then people said to me, but he's just like, I say, look, he's just false prophet for me, and that's it. Tony Robbins can say, like, I'm feeding the hungry, I can do this one. But you can't apply the same strategy on 21,000 people because we are all different. It's
That's
a high.
exactly right.
But you today pull your life experience, not to appeal to millions, and I truly believe it's going to be seen by millions, but the people's who want to listen to you, they will listen to you, Sam, because you've been there.
If I
you've done that.
resonate with one, I'm happy.
No, you will resonate with many people,
If I resonate
particularly with the women over 50, which I want to ask you my second last question before we wind up. Any woman over 50 now being in a position you once upon a time been there, invisible, too old, too late. What's your message, Sam? Now we talk about women. I want to talk about women. What is your message to all those women who was being told, you're too old, too late, it's not for you, get out, invisible?
Yeah, I can only tell you what I feel in my bones. Don't buy into the story because they're selling you a story.
Okay.
They are selling you a condition, and you are expected to abide by that. And no, you're not invisible. Old. What is old?
Yeah.
Step into your power. So there is a Celtic philosophy of maiden, mother, crone. You've done your maidening. You dated and did stuff. You've done your mothering. You mothered children or men or whoever you mothered. Now you're a crone. Crone is a wise woman. It's the time of power. Crone has the power. Crone is a teacher. She's a healer. You can heal people through relationships when you're in a crone stage. You can step into your power. You can reinvent yourself. You can do whatever you like. So be a crone and be proud of being a crone. Grow your gray hair. Do whatever you please. Don't listen to anybody. Eat what you like. Drink what you like. One life, too short. Step into your wisdom. But don't buy into what the world is telling you must be. Be you. Just be you. Whatever that you is. If you want to scroll on TikTok for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, do that. Be unapologetic. Own the damn thing. Don't be scared. Don't be like, who? Nobody matters. Done maidening, done mothering. Be a crone. That's my message to women.
Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for inviting
seriously,
me.
like the 2 hours literally
Flew
gone.
by. Uh-huh.
Flight 2 hours fly with you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Sam.
Thank you.
And I'm going to put in a comment section below, I'm going to put all the same details. She's going to supply some resources, so guys, you can utilize this in your daily life.
Some books and some links and some videos.
Yeah, some videos,
I'll send you some.
yeah. So thank you, Sam, for being my guest on Life the Battlefield.
My honor and my pleasure.
Thank you.